All right, let's talk about blowing stuff up. Ever play a game where you can just wreck absolutely everything?
Like everything.
Not just little things, but like entire buildings.
Crumbling realistically.
Yeah, based on where you hit them. That's Red Faction Guerrilla.
Oh, yeah.
And today, we're going deep on the remaster, Red Faction Guerrilla Re-Mars-tered. This game, it's famous for insane destruction physics, huge open world,
Right.
but it kind of never went super mainstream. So we're going to try to figure out why.
Sounds good.
Maybe some of you listening have played it. You've got some strong opinions. Hit us up on social media.
Yeah. Let us know.
Or maybe some of you have never even heard of it.
It's possible.
In that case, get ready, because this is a wild one.
Oh, it's interesting. Even all these years later, Red Faction Guerrilla still stands out. Lots of games have destruction. But this one, I don't know, it just felt different.
So for those out there who are totally clueless, let's do the basics. What even is Red Faction Guerrilla Re-Mars-tered?
So it's a remaster. Basically, they took the 2009 game, gave it a visual overhaul.
A fresh coat of paint.
Yeah, like better graphics, lighting, all polished up for the newer consoles and PCs.
But at its core, same crazy experience.
Absolutely.
So what is that experience exactly? You keep saying destruction, but what am I destroying and why?
All right, so picture this. You're on Mars.
Okay.
You're playing as Alec Mason. He's this mining engineer. Gets tangled up in a rebellion against the Earth Defense Force.
The EDF.
Yeah, the EDF.
Yeah.
They're the bad guys, super oppressive. Your whole goal is to liberate Mars one piece at a time. You're doing missions, sabotage, just making their lives difficult.
And that's where the smashing comes in.
Oh, yeah. This game uses the Geomod 2.0 engine, super revolutionary back then. Still impressive now, honestly.
Yeah.
It basically allows for realistic damage to structures.
Okay.
It's not like pre-animated stuff. The game calculates how things break based on actual physics.
So how a building falls apart is totally dependent on how and where I'm hitting it. Wow. So it's not like some games where you shoot a wall and a pre-made chunk falls off.
Nope. In Red Faction Guerrilla, you can, target support beams,
Oh, wow.
weaken foundations, and you just watch as the whole thing collapses realistically.
Mm.
And you've got options, too, right? There's your trusty sledgehammer, explosives, even vehicles. You could just ram into stuff.
So it's like a giant Martian physics playground.
Pretty much.
That sounds dangerously fun. But you said something about liberating Mars, right? So it's not just mindless smashing.
Well, that's where the open world design comes in. It's actually built around this destruction.
Okay.
The EDF controls these territories.
Yeah.
And you weaken their grip by destroying their infrastructure.
Yeah.
So you're not just causing chaos, you're being strategic about it, furthering the rebellion.
So it's like a domino effect. I take out the right building, it weakens defenses, maybe even takes out other structures nearby.
Exactly. Makes you think about how things are connected, how to use the environment, how to be smart with your destruction. It's destruction with a purpose.
Okay, so we've got strategic destruction, we've got this huge open world. What about the actual combat? Am I just running around with a sledgehammer, or are there, cool guns and stuff?
Oh, you get plenty of toys to play with. Standard guns, explosives, remote charges,
Nice.
and even give you mechs.
Wait, hold on. Mechs.
Yeah.
Like giant robots. And I can use those to, wreak havoc.
Oh, absolutely. Let's just say they take the destruction to a whole new level.
Okay, this game is sounding better and better.
It definitely caters to a certain, let's say, enthusiastic play style. But here's the thing. Red Faction Guerrilla, it doesn't force you to go in guns blazing. Obviously, it's super satisfying.
Right.
But the game rewards clever tactics, too.
So, using the environment to my advantage.
Exactly. Remember that physics engine we talked about? You can use that in combat, too.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. So, what? Collapsing a building on some EDF troops?
Exactly. Or maybe you rig a fuel tank to explode when enemies get close. The environment is a weapon, just like anything else in your arsenal. It's all about using your creativity and that understanding of the physics to create chaos.
I'm starting to see why you said this game is unique. It's not just giving you guns and saying go nuts. It's about giving you tools and letting you figure out how to use them.
It's about player agency, pure and simple. That was and still is pretty rare.
You've said a few times now that this game was ahead of its time. So if it was so innovative, why didn't it become more popular? What happened?
Well, think back to 2009. Red Faction Guerrilla. It launched in a market that was just like flooded with these huge franchises.
Like what?
Like Grand Theft Auto, Call of Duty. Those games, they had massive marketing budgets, established fan bases.
It's tough to stand out.
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, I think the marketing for Red Faction Guerrilla, it just didn't really do a good job of conveying what made it special.
How do you even explain that in a commercial?
Exactly. You can see destruction in a trailer, but to really feel it, to experiment with it, understand how deep that system goes,
Sure.
you just can't capture that in like a 30-second ad.
So people just didn't get it.
I think some people thought the destruction was just a gimmick, like a fun little extra, not the core of the gameplay.
But it is the core.
It is. It's not a side dish. It's the main course.
Hmm.
But even beyond the marketing, there's something else to consider. This game, it appeals to a specific type of player. It's not a linear, story-driven experience.
Right.
It's for the people who like to, I don't know, tinker, experiment, find their own ways to cause mayhem.
It's a sandbox for people who like emergent gameplay, like the fun that comes from those unexpected outcomes and discovering your own solution.
Exactly. And those players, they're out there, but they're not necessarily the majority.
So even though it wasn't like a massive hit,
Yeah.
it still found its people.
Oh, absolutely. Red Faction Guerrilla, it built a devoted following, a community that truly appreciated this unique approach to destruction and open-world design. And that influence, you can see it in games that came after.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, look at the Just Cause series. They took that over-the-top action and the environmental chaos to a whole new level. But what sets Red Faction apart, what makes it more than just blowing stuff up, is the strategic depth of its destruction. Like in Just Cause, you're often just attaching stuff to other stuff and watching it explode.
Right, right.
Fun, sure, but not super nuanced.
Whereas in Red Faction Guerrilla, I'm actually thinking about how a building is put together where its weak points are.
Yeah, you're not just creating chaos, you're engineering it.
Yeah.
That makes all the difference. It's the difference between mindless fun and something that actually makes you think.
You know, we've talked a lot about the destruction, the gameplay, all that, but you mentioned a story earlier. You play as this guy fighting for Martian freedom. What's that story like?
Well, it's not going to win any awards for storytelling. It's a pretty classic underdog tale. But I think it's effective in setting the stage for all this rebellion and destruction. You get the sense that Mars is this oppressed colony, and they're just desperate to break free from Earth's control.
Okay.
And every building you bring down, every EDF patrol you take out, it feels like a step towards that freedom.
So it's not just mindless destruction for the sake of destruction. There's an emotional hook.
I think so.
Yeah.
And that's something the remaster does really well, too. The graphics, the lighting, it brings the Martian landscape to life. You really feel that grit, that desolation, the sense that this is a hard-fought battle.
Right.
It's not just some generic sci-fi setting. It feels like a real place, a place worth fighting for.
I love that. When a game can make you feel like your actions actually matter, like you're part of something bigger, it just makes all the difference.
Absolutely. And that's something Red Faction Guerrilla nails. It gives you the tools to have a real impact on this world.
To shape it yourself.
With a little help from some explosives. Maybe a few.
You know, it's funny. We spent all this time talking about the newest games, the big releases, all the fancy graphics. But sometimes it's those games that, you know, flew under the radar, the ones that did things differently.
Yeah, those are the ones that stick with you.
They really do, like finding a hidden gem, right?
Absolutely.
Something unexpected, but brilliant.
And Red Faction Guerrilla is definitely one of those.
It makes you wonder how many other great games are out there, just waiting for people to find them.
Right. The games that maybe didn't have the marketing muscle of a Grand Theft Auto,
Yeah.
but still offered something really special.
Totally. And I think that's one of the cool things about remasters, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It gives people a second chance to discover a game they might have missed the first time around, or maybe they played it years ago and kind of forgot about it.
It happens.
It's a good reminder that, you know, good gameplay is timeless. You don't always need the bleeding edge, you know, the crazy graphics or a super complex story.
Sometimes you just need a sledgehammer and a lot of stuff to smash.
Exactly. There's something so fundamentally satisfying about destruction.
It's primal.
Yeah, almost therapeutic.
In Red Faction Guerrilla, it lets you indulge in that urge in a way that few other games can.
Right. It's like a giant stress ball, but instead of squeezing it, you're blowing things up. But
Yeah.
look, we've been talking about it's not mindless, right?
No.
There's a strategy to it, a purpose. You're not just breaking stuff for the heck of it. You're using it to, you know, to fight for something.
Absolutely. And I think that's a big part of what makes it so compelling. It's not just about the spectacle of it all.
Right.
It's that feeling of empowerment, of agency. You're not just following a script. You're writing your own...
Your own story of rebellion.
Exactly.
Like you said, player agency.
Mhm.
And in a world where games can feel kind of hand-holdy, you know? Very linear.
Oh, yeah.
This is so refreshing.
Absolutely. Red Faction Guerrilla, it trusts you to figure things out, experiment, find your own way to win. It's like they just throw you in this sandbox and say, go have fun, cause some mayhem, and hey, liberate Mars while you're at it.
So for anyone listening who hasn't had the, let's say, the pleasure of turning a Martian base into a pile of rubble with a giant hammer,
Or collapsing a skyscraper onto an unsuspecting EDF patrol.
do yourself a favor. Go check out Red Faction Guerrilla Re-Mars-tered. You just might find your new favorite sandbox.
Your new favorite way to blow off some steam.
And hey, you might even learn a thing or two about, the power of fighting for what you believe in, even if it means bringing down a few buildings along the way.
Sometimes a little chaos is exactly what's needed.
Well said. Well, that's it for our deep dive on Red Faction Guerrilla Re-Mars-tered. Hope you enjoyed this little trip to the Red Planet. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep playing.